Well, hello. It's been about a year since I made an update about the high altitude balloon project, so I thought I would update you on some of the advances, really, some of where I've gotten since the last video. And I'll start with the suit itself. One of the main things I've done is figured out my gas supply situation, essentially. So I have gas coming in. One is breathing gas, one is pressurization gas for the suit itself. And now I've got connections. There are three through holes that go right through the suit. And for example, they have a quick connection that works. And those allow me to put gases into the suit and to exhaust gas out of the suit as my altitude and so on vary throughout the course of the flights. One of them is very simple. This is an exhaust, and as I breathe out, the exhaust goes out this hose, and as I breathe in, my intake comes through this hose. And that all will go through the oral-nasal mask. This was a real beast. This was about, I think I did 8 versions of this before I finally got it. And it now inhales out of one hose and exhales only out of the other hose. I don't get any gases sort of backing up in there, and it works beautifully. And now I'm just routing these two hoses down through the suit down to my two intake and exhale ports. So this was a long time. There is one element of this that I had to buy from a military gas mask system, not gas mask, oxygen mask system for flying, and I really don't want to do that. What I'm going to do ultimately is take those apart, learn how they work, and build my own. I don't want to build, the whole point is that I build it myself, and I don't want to build a system cobbling together parts from the systems built for the military. The whole point is that I can figure out how to do this myself. So this system, it's working beautifully, and I'm going to figure out how to build those myself. But in the interim, again, this is what's called proof of concept. I'm getting the system to work. The other one, other major development is that I've got the helmet connection to the rest of the suit finally figured out. I figured out a way to attach the helmet ring, which is the mount for the helmet itself. The helmet ring is now attached to the suit with a system that uses no adhesives. And if you want to figure out how to do that, have fun puzzling it out, because I'm not revealing it, not just yet. The solution was staring me right in the face the whole time, and but now I've figured it out. So the helmet system is connected, and in fact I'm ready. Probably I'll do it tomorrow. I'm ready to do a full pressure test to pressurize the suit up to the real pressures. Another major advance is the balloon monitoring equipment. And this panel, these are not controls. These are instead monitors, and they tell me what the aircraft is doing. And so down here there's a clock. Well, that just tells me time. That's just a clock ticking along, but it's an aircraft clock. It's meant for not being affected by altitude or pressure changes, that kind of thing. This is a high altitude altimeter. This goes up to 50,000 feet. This is an altimeter, a much more conventional one, goes up to about 20,000 feet, where most commercial aircraft go, small planes, not jets. And then this is what's called a variometer, and it basically tells you that the needle goes up as you are ascending, and it goes down as you're descending, and it tells you your ascent or descent rate. You don't want to be going too quickly, you don't want to be going too slowly. So this tells me my ascent or descent rate. This tells me how high up in the air I am, and so does this one as a backup. And then I've just picked up another altimeter. This one goes up to 80,000 feet. Tell you the truth, if I'm at 80,000 feet, I'm in trouble. I expect to make 50,000 feet. If I can do that, I'll be very happy. But having 3 altimeters, is that overkill? No, not at all. You need to know your altitude, and it's very interesting. These are barometric altimeters. They tell you They're essentially pressure altimeters, and they tell you it's called pressure altitude. Of course, the higher you go from the surface of the Earth, the thinner the air gets. And as it gets thinner and thinner, pressure gets lower and lower. And so these just sort of wind along as the pressure gets lower. And then as you return down, the pressure gets higher and the needles change and they show you a different altitude. But imagine that your pressure altitude is 10,000 feet. So you think, oh, I'm 10,000 feet above the Earth. Well, what if you're flying above a 5,000-foot mountain range? Now you're actually 5,000 feet above terrain. So you have to be careful to not think that this is your actual distance above ground. That's quite something else. To find that out, you need a radar altimeter. It shoots a radar beam down, and the beam comes back, bounces back, tells you how far above terrain you actually are. But those have problems. Number one, they require power. I don't want batteries. Number two, because these flights, batteries are going to fail. I don't like batteries. They fail. So a radar altimeter, probably not very useful. And really, in most ballooning, I've never read anybody in ballooning using a radar altimeter. So I don't think it'll be needed. But I do have to keep in mind that that this is what's called pressure altitude, and it's not necessarily distance above ground or above terrain clearance. And finally, this is a thermometer. It just tells you the temperature. It goes down to 70 below. At very high altitudes, the temperature will be very cold. And finally, this is a system, this is the one thing that I've got that does use batteries, and this is a system that I figured out. I wanted an unambiguous way to indicate my altitude, and I thought, well, at 10,000 feet I can touch this thing, and it turns on a little light that means 10. 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 feet. And when I'm done on my descent, I can just 50, 40, 30, 20. Right? And this tells me basically it's an unambiguous way to identify my altitude without having to peer very closely at these gauges. And yes, they use lights, and those batteries will die. But even so, it still makes a nice big face out here. With all those, I know that I'm at 50,000 feet, 40,000 feet, 30,000, 20,000, 10,000, 50. 50,000 feet. Now I'm passing through 50. I've gone below 40. I've gone below 30. I've gone below 20,000 feet. I'm now below 10,000 feet if I see no bulbs out, basically. So this is the primary monitoring panel that shows me what's going on with the aircraft, with the system that I'm flying. You'll notice that there are no wires coming out the back. That's one of the beautiful things about this. No power. All of these work simply on pressure, air pressure, or the clock at the bottom is a wind-up clock, but again, made specifically for aircraft. I think that's really what I wanted to talk about. That's really what I wanted to cover. And so the system is coming along, and the next phase is a full pressure test, get it up to the real pressures that will be necessary. I've figured that out. It's about 4 pounds per square inch of pressure I need inside the system, and you can survive that if you're breathing pure oxygen. So I will have to build a liquid oxygen system that gives me enough duration to survive for a long time. I don't want to pop up there and come right back down. One of my points is to stay up for a very long time. And that requires liquid oxygen. Liquid oxygen, it's just a canister, a vacuum flask containing very cold oxygen that has been compressed and chilled to a liquid form. And as it evaporates, as it boils out, you're breathing that. And liquid oxygen systems, you can get them commercially from a number of sources. I think I have to get a card, a liquid oxygen handling card or something like that, which is doable, just like getting a balloon pilot's license, which I'll eventually be doing as well. But I'm building the system, and I talked to one sort of world record-breaking balloonist, and he told me, yes, you're going about it the right way. Build the system that you're going to take up first, and once you've built the system, you know how big it is, how bulky it is, then you build the balloon that will carry that system. And that's what I'm doing now. So there's where the balloon project is. Hope you enjoyed this little update.